Hello, hello, and welcome back. Today, we're going to explore something that sneaks into our life all the time. It's the sunk cost fallacy. And how can we reclaim our forgotten power of choosing all over again, even if we make the same choice? So that's what we're going to look at today. Why the sunk fallacy keeps us stuck, why it's so hard to let go of the things we've invested in, and how we can just simply revisit a forgotten choice and how much freedom you can find in that. So if you've ever stayed in a job, a relationship, project, anything, just because you've already come this far, this one is for you. So let's just start off with what is the sunk cost fallacy. I'm sure many of you have heard that before, but just to remind us, it's a psychological trap. It's a belief system where we continue to make decisions and we base it on how much time, energy, effort, money, resources, put whatever you want in there, you've already invested, even when it's no longer serving us. So an example could be like, have you ever stayed through a movie that you hated it just because like you already paid for the ticket? That's sunk cost. You think like, I've already spent the money, I might as well just sit through this. But really, if we just like zoom out a little bit and think about it, sitting through the movie isn't going to get us our money back. And honestly, it just costs us more of our time, maybe our mood, maybe our peace, because now we're cranky. So the sunk cost fallacy plays into two fears that we have. One is loss aversion. We fear losing what we've already invested. And the other one is fear of failure. We fear looking or feeling like we've wasted our effort. So we convince ourselves just to keep going, hoping that like the more effort we put into it will make it the more worth it. And we often end up holding on far longer than we should. And that can be like a job, a relationship, anything, a project that's draining us, a dream that used to really light us up. And now we've grown into a different person and it's just not in alignment with who we are. So because it's a belief system, we forget that we actually have the power to choose again. And we have choices all the time. And sometimes we have to make a decision once, right? Maybe we made a decision to live in this place, be with this person, and it was months ago, years ago. And unconsciously, we just kind of lock ourselves into it. And we never reevaluate or question whether that choice still aligns with who we are today, who we've evolved into. And so we might think like, I already started this project in the yard. I might as well finish it. I've already been in this job for 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. I don't know. Hopefully you're retired by then. Maybe 30 years. I can't stop now. I owe it to my family to keep going. I owe it to myself. And all of these scripts just keep us stuck. So this is a reminder that no choice we've made in the past ever has to be permanent. We are allowed to change our mind. And the only one who can allow that is us. And part of the problem or the barrier is that we have all these external conditions that maybe led us to making the choice or that we believe keep us in the choice. Like, gosh, my family is dependent on me providing through this job. My loved one, their emotional life, their life is dependent on me staying in the relationship. The yard project, the bathroom renovation has cost me a loan at the bank. And now I owe this amount. And so it's a great opportunity to explore the why behind it. Not just allowing ourselves to make the decision, but to allow ourselves to look at it, to scrutinize it, to evaluate it, and to say, let me just pause and reflect. And even if I reveal something to myself, it doesn't mean I have to act on it. It doesn't mean that I have to change my mind or change course. But there is power in just the act of allowing yourself to re-choose, to redecide, to reevaluate. Because otherwise you feel like you're a victim or at the mercy of your family needing you to provide, this person's emotional well-being on you, this bank loan that's looking for you to repay it, right? And you feel so powerless, and you feel that you have to make this decision, when really all of those things can be challenged and played with if we allow it to have some space and some reflection. And so even just by starting off and saying, if this isn't right for me anymore, I've poured years of energy, resources, time, money into this thing. How can you also look at reevaluating as an act of love, as an act of empowerment, as an act of really taking control and owning your life in a way that you want it to be? Not because you have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pick up your kids when they're, out of school. Now, you probably want to because you want to keep your kids. Like, you don't have to file your taxes. But if the option is going to jail, then you get to do your taxes. You know what I mean? And it's such a small, super subtle shift. But there's such a difference. Let's just keep the tax example. Such a difference of, like, I have to do my taxes and I'm resentful and this is painful and I don't want to and this is a headache, versus like, yeah, I don't want to do my taxes and I don't have to do them. I really don't. And what would happen? Like, allow myself to play in the land of what would happen if I don't do my taxes. The IRS will come after me. Maybe I go to jail. Maybe I have to find a fine. Okay, yeah, I guess I do want to do my taxes instead of I guess I'd choose to do my taxes instead of choosing the consequences. Because either way, you're making a choice, So you're really giving yourself back that power to choose. And even not choosing is choosing. And so allowing yourself the choice to reevaluate. You made a choice and you kind of forgot that you can remake it. That can be so liberating, just to revisit those forgotten options. So let's talk about finding yourself trapped by these sunk costs. How can we know if we're choosing it for the right reasons anymore? How do we know if we're choosing it from this trapped space or because we want to? And there's different things you can play with. You can play with emotion. Do you feel that you're obligated? Do you feel like you have to? You're resentful? That probably means that you feel like you're in a victim mode and that you're being forced to do it, versus feeling excited, like, lit up by something. Another one to play with is just fear of wasted effort. You can ask yourself, why am I staying in this? Because I don't want to have wasted all this time or energy. And maybe that makes you feel drained instead of fulfilled. It might make you feel exhausted instead of energized. And so again, whether it's a knowingness, whether it's a feeling that you tap into, whether it's a belief system, there's lots of different ways to reconnect with yourself, to understand your motivation and your why behind your choice. And just to remember to have some kindness with ourselves, that staying stuck, it's not like it redeems your past efforts. Your past is in your past, and it's only affecting your present. It's only extending your suffering. And so the energy you've spent, it's already spent. It's not that it's lost just because you decide something new. And in fact, you can even continue to transmute that into like a springboard for the next thing and give it some gratitude of, this thing was the right choice for me, this project, this job, and I haven't lost anything. In fact, look at all these memories I've gained. Look at all these skills I've gained. Look at all this investment into my life I've gained. Even if I don't have return on investment, let's just go there. Let's say it's like you haven't even realized the return yet, what does that mean anyways? What is the return? Because we're meaning-making sentient beings. Maybe the return is the experience of life. Maybe the return is wisdom. Maybe the return is a reorienting to yourself and to what you want. So return of investments can mean so much more than, something physical or financial or a skill set. It can just be for the experience of it. And can you let that be enough that you didn't lose anything? And in fact, maybe you've gained a lot. Maybe you've gained the knowledge, the wisdom, the reorientation to yourself so that this present can be like fully authentic to you and can lead you to the next steps that you can continue to align with your heart. So how can we do all this? It can be really simple. We just simply pause and reflect and just ask ourselves, if I was choosing today, the person that I am now, if I had to make this decision all over again, not based off who I was or what I did it for then or anything, right now in this moment, because the present is all we have, would I choose this again? And if the answer is no, then that's okay. That's just knowledge. Again, you don't have to act on it. It might be something really scary, but you've gained knowledge. You've allowed yourself the freedom to be honest with yourself and to re-choose. You've allowed clarity in your life. You've allowed resiliency in your life. And nothing is ever truly wasted unless we allow it to be wasted. Maybe it's an opportunity for self-forgiveness and to be kind to ourselves and to recognize that we made the best choice that we could in the moment that we had with the tools and the information that we had at the time. And now we are in a different space and can make a different decision. And this also isn't to say that just because something is no longer aligned to you, you might still choose. On the outside, it looks like the same thing. You're choosing the same job, let's say. But on the inside, maybe before you were choosing it for your family or for your future dreams or because you had this purpose that you wanted to live out to help people. And now you're like, maybe more jaded or see things differently. And you allow yourself the opportunity to re-choose. And you think like, what would I do? Like, I remember doing this a few years ago and thinking like, what would I do if I didn't choose to come back to the hospital the next day? And I really allowed myself to play with it and not just, your mind is going to be like, no, that's stupid. Don't think about that. Like, of course. And how many hundreds of thousands of dollars have you paid? And you don't know how to do anything else. And what are you going to do? And to like, let all that bubble up. Cool. It's all been heard and it's all been aired out. And now quiet. And now really allow some possibility and some exploration. Like, and I did, I thought about like, what would I do? What would that look like? What would I need to get trained in or certified in, or how would my lifestyle look differently? I could do this other thing, and what kind of, salary would that bring in, and what do I want for my life, for my family? And I really allowed myself play without any judgment. And at the end of it, I came back to choosing to go to the hospital. And it wasn't maybe the reason that I would have chosen it 20 years ago, 10 years ago, yesterday, but it was a reason that rang true, that allowed me the possibility to choose again. And I actually came back to the same thing. And again, on the outside, to the external observer, it looks like, well, you just made the same choice. But to you on the inside, it feels a lot different if you allow yourself to play with your purpose and your reason for choosing. And I think too, there's a freedom knowing that you can always choose again. Nothing is ever definite, Every day we can open ourselves up to new possibilities or even the same possibility, but with a different reason for choosing it. Even if we stay in one place for many, many years, knowing that we don't have to continue to stay there. And that choosing something new doesn't mean that we failed. Maybe it means that we're growing. Maybe it means that we're evolving. And two, like, what about all the choices that like we actually would choose again for the same reason? Like, that can be powerful too, to combat the feeling of this obligation of duty and this resentment, to know that we don't ever have to do anything, but that we do get to choose to do it and that we get to do it. And sometimes that helps us reconnect to our purpose. maybe our purpose hasn't changed at all, but we've become disconnected to it. And when we really allow ourselves, like, ooh, the possibility of letting this thing go, how much does that open us back up to reconnecting with it, you know? And to knowing that these choices, they don't have a hold over us, that we don't have to take them for granted, that we're not a victim to the choices, but that we would choose them again. And that, yeah, I'm going to choose to pick up my kids, even when I'm annoyed with them. I want to take a break from them because I'd rather be with them than have them taken from me, you know? I'd rather do my taxes and choose to do my taxes than choose to not do it, but be choosing then to go to jail, you know? And I think that in most of the cases, like the more often than not, we'll be surprised that we end up choosing to continue what we're currently doing. But I think the key difference is that it releases us from obligation, from duty, from resentment, from frustration, because it no longer feels like you have to. You gave yourself space to entertain something else, to be a little scared, to be a little unsure, to not take something for granted, to like feel into what it would be like if you lost that thing, to feel into what it would be like to do something totally different. And I think most of the time we would end up coming back to it. Maybe it's with the same reason that we originally chose, and maybe it's a slightly different one. And all of that, our job, our relationships, where we live, our friends, our community, our skill set, I don't think we give ourselves the chance, the opportunity to choose enough. And then we end up being resentful that we're stuck with these things. And to me, it's just a win-win either way, because you get to realize that you're choosing to be exactly as you are and live exactly in alignment with that. And okay, the few times that you realize that something is out of alignment and you actually do want to and need to and wish to change, that is so freeing and so empowering. And yes, scary as hell, especially when it's big decisions. It's a lot of uncertainty, and it brings up all of these challenges that we talk about, the sunk cost fallacy, right? That we mentioned earlier, that we have to work through, like all these external things that it's going to influence in our future. But it allows the constant opportunity to be in constant alignment with your heart and with your mind, and to live a life that is true to you, to your most authentic self. Like, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? You have a more aligned life. Yeah, you know, the price of admission is pain and uncertainty and all of that. And what is the gift in the end? I don't know, just something for you to think about. So in our ending tradition, just some questions for you. What choice are you ready to revisit today? Is there something you're holding on to just because you've invested so much in it already? And if so, can you give yourself permission just to re-examine it, to release it, to look at why you're holding on to it? What needs realignment in your life? And what's already aligned that you actually would choose again? Even the days you feel frustrated, disappointed, angry, resentful. But yeah, you would choose it. And how does that choice release you from those resentments? Okay, wishing you all play, possibility, and peace. Wishing you to feel supported in this space, and so honored to be a part of your soul tribe. Sending you love, and see you next week. Bye.